So you can think of the ethnosphere as being the sum total of all thoughts and dreams, ideas and myths, intuitions and inspirations brought into being by the human imagination since the dawn of consciousness. The ethnosphere, if you will, is humanity's great legacy. It's a symbol of all that we've achieved and all that we can achieve as a wildly creative and imaginative species. And just as the biosphere is severely under threat with the erosion of habitat and the concomitant loss of plant and animal life, so too is the ethnosphere, but if anything at a far greater rate. And the great indicator of this, of course, is language loss. When each of you were born, there were roughly 7,000 languages spoken on Earth. Now, a language isn't just a body of vocabulary or a set of grammatical rules. A language is a flash of the human spirit. It's a vehicle through which the soul of each particular culture comes in the material world. Every language is an old-growth forest of the mind, a watershed of thought, an ecosystem of social and spiritual possibilities. And of those 7,000 languages spoken the day that you were born, today fully half are not being whispered into the ears of infants, which means effectively they're on the road to extinction. Now, there are many people who say, well, wait a minute, wouldn't the world be a better place if we all spoke one language? Wouldn't communication be facilitated? Wouldn't it be easier for us to get along? My answer to that is always to say, what a great idea. But let's make that universal language, not English, but Inupiaq, or Yoruba, or Haida. And suddenly you begin to feel, as a native speaker of English, what it would be like to be enveloped in silence, to have no means or ability to anticipate the promise of your descendants or to reflect upon the achievements of your ancestors. And yet that dreadful plight is indeed the fate of somebody somewhere on Earth roughly every fortnight, because on average every 2 weeks, some elder passes away and carries with them into the grave the last syllables of an ancient tongue. Now this implies that within a generation, we are literally losing half of humanity's intellectual, social, and spiritual legacy. And this doesn't have to happen. But what makes it particularly poignant is that this scenario is unfolding just at a time when geneticists have finally proven it to be true, something that philosophers have always hoped to be true. And that is the fact that we are all quite literally brothers and sisters. And I don't mean that in the spirit of hippie ethnography. I mean quite literally. Over the last 20 years, a journey within the fiber of our being has shown through studies of the Y chromosome in the male descent line of humanity and mitochondrial DNA in the female descent line of humanity, has shown that the human genetic endowment is a single continuum. We are all cut from the same genetic cloth. Race has been exposed as a complete fiction. In fact, all of us are descendants of a handful of people who walked out of Africa roughly 65,000 years ago, and then embarked on this extraordinary journey, a diaspora that took 40,000 years, 2,500 human generations, to bring the human spirit to every corner of the habitable world.